Yo, everybody, what is going on? Welcome, 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 welcome. I am super excited for everybody to be here. I will be your host, Simply T Poetry. You'll just go by T White. And I want to welcome you all to our second annual Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Summit. This is something we look forward to every single year. So happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us at the Minority Veterans of America this weekend. We appreciate you all so much for your time and your energy. And we are going to need it over the next 2 days because we have so much in store. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect. We have over 70 speakers, 19 hours of content and resource booths, and prizes for the most engaged participants. So please continue to be engaged throughout these 2 days. It will not do you wrong. This NVA is such an amazing, amazing program. The Minority Veterans of America have done so much this year and throughout the years. And I'm just super excited to tell you all a little bit about it, about how we invest empowering and serving minority veteran community. We serve minorities of all intersectionalities, and the work that we do for policy and change the system of pragmatic work to serve the needs to who we have. In the last year alone, we've provided $66,000 in direct aid over COVID, distributed 23 tons of food in six cities in 6 months, and hosted programs like the Summit designed to change the narrative of the American veteran, which is what we do every single day at Minority Veterans of America. I personally love this organization as a minority veteran myself, very intersecting all types of things. It has been such a pleasure to have a community to be able to talk to, combine with, and work together to change, because change is the most important. So as a veteran, I am excited. As a leader of this organization, I am grateful, and I am super happy that each of you have taken the time to work with us and share with us some visions that we plan to do today throughout the summit and tomorrow as well. So this year's vision, this year's theme is sharing the vision, leading the way. And one of the people who helps us do that in Minority Veterans of America is one of the co-founders, Lindsay Church. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lindsay. Their pronouns are they, them. They're an executive director and co-founder of MVA, nonpartisan nonprofit organization dedicated to creating equitable and just world in minority veteran community, veterans of color, women, LGBTQ, non-religious minorities. Prior to founding and leading the MVA, Lindsay co-founded the Student Veteran Life at the University of Washington. Lindsay holds an AA in Paris and Farsi, a BA in Islamic Studies and Near Eastern Language and Civilization, and an MA in the International Studies. They are a veteran of the US Navy, where they served as a Persian Farsi linguist. You guys, help me right now. Bring it to the microphone and stage, Lindsay Church. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I'm super excited.
Morning, T. Thank you so much for that introduction. Love the energy. Really appreciate you kicking off Summit and being our MC for the overall event. And of course, we're reading my full bio, so that was fun. Always my favorite thing is reading my full bio, but thank you so much. Let's see, I'm also running tech on this, so my apologies. I think, there we go. All right. So welcome to Summit. So excited to have every single one of you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here on a Saturday. I know many of you probably didn't envision that you were going to spend your Saturday looking at a computer screen, but alas, here you are. So thank you so much for joining us and taking some time out of your day. When we started Summit, it was just a kernel of an idea that we needed to be able to create space where our community could connect in the face of COVID. A space where we could educate the broader world on the issues that were impacting us, and a space to address the growing needs for our community. We started the summit last year in around November in the face of everything that was the changing world that we were experiencing. One, the pandemic landscape was changing everything about the experience for minority veterans. Minority veterans were disproportionately impacted by COVID. So looking to connect people to resources and to employers to ensure that our community had the basic needs that people couldn't look past the needs that we had. Many folks aren't able to invest in diversity, equity, inclusion, and really can't look towards justice because oftentimes education like this is cost prohibitive. So our goal and our dream is to provide this education to the community at no cost to anybody, but to really bring together like a collaboration and amalgamation of who our community is and the experiences that we have. So Summit was born from a deep need and from a community that believed in it. Our community rolled up their sleeves and really put in the work to build this. Last year's Summit was built completely by volunteers. This year's Summit has been built by volunteers and staff. I want to thank everybody that had an opportunity to be a part of the planning team that gave their time. The MBA team members have really pulled together an amazing event for everybody this weekend. There are, like T said, over 70 speakers, 19 hours of content, and really, hundreds of hours that went into building this platform. So to the MBA team, to the presenters, to the staff, to the partners, to the sponsors, you all made this happen, and we're really grateful for the opportunity to be putting this summit on for everybody. So what to expect from the weekend? The Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Summit is called a summit for a reason. You're not going to find endless presentations and PowerPoints here. Instead, you're going to find conversations with panelists and experts in their fields. There's no one person that can represent an issue, so these panels are designed to draw on a depth of experiences and piece together a picture of our community and the issues. Each one of these sessions is a conversation between folks because it's important to pull out the ideas from multiple perspectives. As an intersectional movement of minority veterans, it's important to look at this issue from as many possible angles as possible. And I do really love the saying that if you've met one veteran, you've met one veteran. So it's really important to pull apart these conversations and bring in different voices to the table that often aren't heard or seen. So these conversations are going to validate you, they're going to challenge you, and the hope is that they're going to change you. There's going to be speakers here that are going to move you to tears. There's going to be performers that will sing to all that you are. And some of these sessions are going to bring up the pain and the beauty that you've been holding on to from your military experience. I do encourage everyone to take your time. This summit is deep and powerful and pulls apart really important but also traumatic experiences from our community. So I encourage you to take your time with this content. If you are finding yourself experiencing a lot of things coming up for you, take a step away. Take care of yourself this weekend. Jump in as you can. All of the sessions are going to be recorded, so you can go back and watch them later. But please just take this at your own pace and make sure that you care for yourself. That's the ultimate point. Over the course of the next 2 days, you're going to hear from 70 speakers, performers, artists, MCs, and more than 19 hours of content. The entire summit is designed to help you understand that minority veterans, while we face many challenges, are out there fighting to create community-driven solutions so that we can lift up and empower our own communities. The best and most powerful solutions are always going to come from us and be led by us. This moment and this summit is really designed for us to be able to show the power of our community and what we're doing to ensure that our community and the next generation have more. We hope you came here with an open mind and that you're ready to have a little bit of fun, because ultimately I'm not going to bring you all here on a Saturday and Sunday without a little bit of fun. I've seen many of you all already starting to add points to the leaderboard. I have seen some folks that I served with. I see you trying to max out those points. So do stay engaged on the platform. Earn points for dropping into booths, get connected to employers, speak in the chat boxes, add questions. But ultimately, the goal is to keep you engaged and have you be a part of this journey. This isn't just about us telling you everything. This is about you being a part of this experience. I see a note in there to go check out the REI gear. Absolutely, the leaderboard is full of epic REI gear. So I want to just bring it back a little bit to how MBA started. So minority veterans, I tell people this often, minority veterans of America was started by 5 people in my living room in 2017. We started in a moment that we were feeling, the minority communities across the country were feeling deep adversity and fear that policy changes were going to impact them. You know, policy by tweet in 2017 was commonplace. Our organization started 12 days after the military trans ban and just a few months after the Muslim ban. We came together, myself and our co-founder, Catherine Pratt, myself being a queer, non-binary veteran, and our co-founder being a Korean American woman veteran. Both of us were students and alumni of the University of Washington. We'd done a lot of work together in the community of veterans and found that over time, we just didn't feel ourselves being included in the conversation, didn't feel like we were welcome in the organizations that were designed to serve us. And ultimately, we watched our rights being chipped away. And so we looked at each other and we said, you know, I'm never going to understand what you experience as a person of color in this country, and you'll never understand what it feels like to be a non-binary queer person in this country either. But what I can tell you is that each of us understands oppression, whether it be from the systems, from the laws, from the community, and we want to do something about it. We want to create an intersectional movement of minority veterans that's capable of advocating for greater change. Together, we built this community to be the largest voice that we can create for the minority veteran community so that we can actually impact the long-term change. Because that's the goal. While we're here to ensure that our programs serve the unique needs of our community in the here and now, the ultimate goal is to change the system so that many of the outcomes change with policy changes, with working on trying to advocate for things to really be more equitable and just when it comes to how the resources are distributed and how the policies are built. That's how we're going to create lasting change in the community. And MVA can't be the only one that's capable of serving minority veterans. It has to be a whole of the government. It has to be a whole of the veteran service organizations, and it has to be a whole of the community that's really here to build up and meet the unique needs of minority veterans. So that's how MBA was built. We were built as an intersectional movement of minority veterans to include women, people of color, religious and non-religious minorities, and LGBTQ communities. And ultimately, we're here to create a large voice, to be able to be that voice for the community. I love seeing Team MBA. Y'all are giving me a little bit of hype and make me feel good about how our community has really built itself. One thing that I pride ourselves on is that we are a community of, we are of the community that we're serving, and we are out there on the front lines in our own communities, building up and living these ethos and values. And I couldn't be prouder that over the last 4 years, 2022 will be a half decade that we've been at this. We have over 2,600 members in 49 states. If you know anybody in Vermont and you know that they're a minority vet and you think that they should be a part of the organization, please send them our way so that we can get 50 states. So we are in 49 states. We have 4 chapters, one in Seattle, Richmond, Atlanta, Pittsburgh. And we really get out there on the front lines. We get out there in our communities and we dig in and find as many unique ways that we can build programs and services that will meet the needs of our community. It's been an outstanding, amazing journey to kind of be at the helm of this community and to lead among the folks that I do. So MBA has really grown to be an impactful voice in a space where we weren't seen before. And so, yeah, so why are we here? Ultimately, beyond the community aspect, which I'm really grateful that all of you are part of the community, the other why is that the world is changing. The military is changing. You see that today's military is the most diverse military that we've ever seen, which means that as those folks become veterans, our veteran community is also going to change. It's projected in the next 20 years or so, or 20 to 30 years or so, that you're going to see minority populations grow to be a much larger portion of the actively serving community, but also the community of veterans. You can see these in the rising number of women veterans. One day we'll see this in the rising number of LGBTQ veterans once the VA starts collecting LGBTQ data. But ultimately, you're seeing that our military is more racially and ethnically diverse. Gender diverse, sexual orientation diverse, religiously diverse, ultimately creating this force that will eventually mean that all of our service organizations, all of our community needs to be able to create solutions that meet the needs of the changing veteran community. So we're here to get ahead of that. Each of you has already recognized that one, this is a community you want to belong to, but two, that the larger community is changing and we have an opportunity to get ahead of that change. So ultimately we're here both to create that change, but to create that change within ourselves, within our community, and take that change and bring it to the broader society. I often say that the veteran community has a lot of problems and a lot of challenges when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And if we can fix what's happening in the veteran community, we can take these solutions and we can build a stronger society as a whole. The veteran community is a microcosm of all who exist in the United States and who exist in our country. And if we can figure out how to create solutions here, we can take those and we can invest, we can create those solutions in our communities that we live at large. So with that, we're trying to create that larger change within ourselves and our community. Like I said, minority veterans have been disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. When you couple this with the already disparate outcomes our community was facing, the results are even scarier. As we look to the COVID endemic and a society that will, more than likely chronically function with COVID as a force out there, it's important to understand that minority veterans have been impacted with their employment, were more likely to be impacted with their health, and face a large swath of other disproportionate outcomes or disparate outcomes. We'll have a panel at the end of the summit on day 2 that pulls apart everything that happened within the COVID-19 pandemic. But what's really important here is to understand that there was a synergy between already existed disparate outcomes and problems within the system, and the COVID-19 pandemic made that worse. We basically saw that the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated problems that were already there and created these large chasm or these large inability for, larger inequitable outcomes. So if we're going to meet the next generation where they are, we have to look to the community of the future. So what does it look like to meet people where they are? So we hear this phrase a lot about meeting people where they are. And so meeting people where they are is about tailoring programs to meet the lived experiences and current circumstances of all the people that you're encountering. We each have a different set of circumstances, and though we might be weathering the same storm, our boats are not the same. Some have yachts and some have a door that they're desperately clinging onto for survival. We're here to talk about the changes that need to be made to create more equitable outcomes for everyone. So what is diversity, or what is equity, inclusion, and justice? Let's start with diversity and why we don't include that in our summit. So I was told this phrase a long time ago. It's really stuck with me. Diversity is counting the people. Inclusion is where the people count. We're going to have to move past merely counting people and look to building inclusive programs, communities, and organizations where those of diverse backgrounds or minority veterans can thrive. Anything less is tokenism and will likely lead to reduced retention of those you seek to include. Yes, I said that. Diversity work alone without working on your overall culture and who you're bringing into or how you're bringing people into your organization, how they experience that organization. It is tokenism, and it will result in them likely leaving and having a bad experience with you and your organization. So I always tell people the very first thing that you should be focusing on is not how do you diversify the people that are in your organization. It's all about making sure that before you even do that, that your organizations are ready for those folks to thrive and not just survive, but thrive. How have you built your system? How have you learned about the people that you're trying to bring in before you go and do that? So please, please, please look at your organizations first. Look at your inclusion first. How are you building those systems? How are you building those supports? And how are you empowering those people to succeed in your organization? And then when we look at equity, you can't have equality. The Nikita Oliver in Seattle, I heard her say this for the first time. You can't have equality until you have equity. Equity is an investment into bringing folks to an equal playing field. Our dream is a world where folks have equal access to opportunity and a community they can achieve their dreams in. Investing in equity helps us all, and an equity lens will help us achieve the outcomes we're looking for. Last, justice is the vision. MVA's vision is a just world that empowers minority veterans. The definition of justice is fair or impartial treatment. This may seem like a really very basic sentiment, but in some spaces, this idea of justice seems radical. It's time to move beyond the idea that the messages of equity, inclusion, and justice are radical or fringe notions. What we're asking for makes sense. These are common sense changes. These are common sense approaches to building a better veteran community. Our message is one of creating nuance in our solutions, inserting individual agency to our services, and one of truly seeing each veteran for who they are and what they've experienced. GM, I'll bring you back now.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. You dropped down so much information. And I know you're like, oh my God, I'm tired of talking, but I have questions. I have questions. You gave me too much information and now I want to know more. So you brought up that NVA is 4 years old and will be 5 years, half a decade next year. Super excited. So I would like to know, what is the vision for the future of NVA, and basically how do you plan on getting there?
So the future, like I said in just a minute ago, the future of NVA is a just community. So for us, that's about building up the resources, the programs, and addressing the policy disparities that exist. So looking towards the future and making sure that our community has the resources and their needs met to be able to not just survive but to actually thrive. Personally, I'm the child of a single mom who is also a veteran, and I watched her struggle. And she, like I'm the child of a mom, and she is the child of a dad who served. And so our ultimate goal is like kind of looking at the system and making sure that next generation has better resources, has better support. My mom served in 1978 to 1988, and her experiences were atrocious. As a woman serving in that era, she came out to a veteran community that really didn't look at her as a veteran. In the 1980s and 1990s, even now it's 2021 and they barely see anybody that's not white, straight white Christian male as veteran. In 1988, they really didn't see her. And so for us, the future looks like empowering people to succeed, making sure that our next generation doesn't experience the same problems that we see now, making sure that they have the resources, the economic resources, and not just programs that make you that work on certain issues like suicide, homelessness. I'm actually talking about economic empowerment, because many people look at what we're trying to achieve as like a social service or a handout, when really I'm trying to make the system better so that you don't have to look at this as a social service or a handout. I want to make sure that our community has the ability to thrive and not just survive. So I want to make sure that our community has economic justice, that we have social justice, that we have racial equity, that we have gender equity, that we have all of these things that we've addressed, but ultimately that we have the ability to experience joy. I say this often, that like our fight and our movement is not just about the fights and the work that we do, but it's actually about equal opportunity to experience joy. Most often our communities are just trying to get by, but we don't often get the opportunity to experience that joy that we're fighting for so hard. And so I want a community that has the ability to empower itself, but also that we just get to feel that little bit of joy.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely hear the passion in your voice. And I'm always excited when you start talking about NBA, because you get me there. And I'm like, yes, this is why I'm here. Like you get me there. You don't even know. You're like the Gipper speech for me every single time. And I'm just super grateful for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to run down the history, to us understanding what's going on today. And most importantly, that EIJ breakdown was dope. I was like, inclusion and diversity. What is it? I'm gonna get this quote right. Diversity is counting the people. Inclusion is where the people count. I absolutely love that. Thank you for that. That's absolutely amazing. So Lindsay, thank you so much for talking to us and giving us all those things. We appreciate you, and we will see you soon. You all, well, it is time. Are you ready? Are you ready for us to stop talking and get to the numbers? We are getting to it today. So we hope that you enjoyed the summit and take advantage of all the team of NVA has built today. Don't forget to grab the points on a leaderboard and head over to the auditorium for our next session. It is Minority Vets and Public Policy. I am your girl T. White, and I will see you in there. I will talk to you soon, you all. Peace.